Welcome to this episode of Bearcat Chats. We're focusing on voter registration and awareness. I'm Jacob Wilkins, and a pleasure to be joined by Shelli Cohen, who is with the Center for Civic Engagement, and Kaylee Wasco, who is a member of the Binghamton women's basketball team and has been involved with a number of Bearcat student athletes in increasing voter awareness. Thanks to both of you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh my God.
Shelli, let's start with you. This has been something you've been at for a long time. Tell me, what is the biggest thing you're hearing from students in terms of how do I vote?
Yeah, we were getting a lot of questions about both voting in person and voting via absentee. So for students who are registered on campus or in the Binghamton area, they will be voting at a polling place near them. And students who are freshmen and first-time voters, since you have to pre-register for every event, a lot of students think that they have to pre-register or sign up for a time slot for when they have to vote. But if you want to go vote in person, you can just show up. You don't have to do anything in advance as long as you're registered. So that is a common question we're getting. And for absentee ballots, a lot of people have received their absentee ballots in the mail, but now they are trying to fill them out and send them back. And the two common questions we're getting is, how do I fill out my ballot? So we are putting up information on the Center for Civic Engagement website on specific instructions on how to do that. And people have also been looking for stamps. So you can either purchase them at the campus mail under the union. And we are also giving out stamps for free at the Center for Civic Engagement. So you just put on a stamp and stick it in the mailbox, which is right out front in the union. Yeah, so those are the common questions we are getting.
And where, Shelli, if people are I know that the event center is going to be used as a polling place. Is that where people go?
Yeah, so the event center is the polling place for on-campus students. So for students who are registered on campus, they can go to the event center between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. on November 3rd.
And Kaylee, I love your story because you came here from Michigan. You're a member of the women's basketball team, and you were very honest in that great article that was on the athletics website of saying, I was sort of confused on how to vote. And so you hadn't voted, and this is going to be your first year, I think, voting. What really motivated you to say being confused is not an excuse?
Yeah, well, I think no one's immune to everything that's been happening over the summer and just all the movements that have been taking in place. And so I remember we were on a Zoom call, with our teammates, just talking about how we were feeling about everything that was going on. And I remember hanging up that call and just asking myself, okay, what can I do? And as I was going, I realized I'm a student athlete, so that already gives us a huge platform, but I'm a senior, so I was I only have one more year to use this platform. So I was asking myself, student athletes have a lot of resources open to them. So I was trying to figure out how we could come together and kind of educate different people about voting, because me being from out of state, it just makes the voting process all that more complicated. And so something we keep hearing this year over and over again is educate yourself, educate yourself, educate yourself. So it was just that main thing in the back of my mind was just there are so many people who can't vote. So if you can, you should. And by no means am I here to say vote or don't vote, but I don't understand how to vote to be the excuse behind it. So that's just kind of what motivated me personally to turn to vote. But I knew as a student athlete, I could probably find a group of athletes that could work together to try and educate the rest, which in a roundabout way, I ended up in a group that was already in motion connected with the CCE. And that's kind of how I ended up with the student athlete committee, is where I placed it there.
Yeah, and what was the response when you initially got together with these leaders in the student athlete community?
Yeah, well, it was actually really funny because Allison from CCE was working with Nadine Mastrolio, and I have worked with Nadine Mastrolio since I've came to Binghamton. So it was just kind of funny that it was oh, of course it was through Nadine, the people that I was looking for. But so right away, the first meeting that I had, we were getting trained by the CCE in how to explain the voter registration process. And it was just funny learning all this stuff that all of these other student athletes, we were like, oh, I didn't even realize it was that technical, or like, why is it that way? And so getting a 45-minute training, it was really quick. And then we were just brainstorming, so what in the athletic department do students need to hear? And like the biggest thing was absentee ballots, not only just because New York State is allowing absentee ballots, but over 50% of the athletic department is out of state. And the CCE focuses more on Binghamton area and New York State students. So our committee was just like, we need to gather resources and find like different due dates for registration for different states. I mean, me from Michigan, my due date is different than New York. So that was just, it was looking up all the student athletes and what states they're from, and letting them know that yes, you can vote from your hometown with an absentee ballot, but if you want, because you're a Binghamton student, you can vote in Broome County. So just kind of like adding that other layer of having all these out-of-state students was like big for our committee. And we had a lot of questions. We even had questions. I've had coaches call me with questions about registering to vote. So it really has, like, we've had a lot of questions and a lot of interaction with a lot of different people with the program we started.
You're the coach now.
Yeah.
You're drawing up their voting game plan. Tell me, Shelli, the big thing, as Kaylee's talking, and I'm thinking back to, I went to a school that was out of state from where I lived. It's overwhelming. How do you calm students' concerns?
Yeah, what we do is walk them through the process. What we've seen is that students like things to just be made easy for them. So that's what we try to do, try to meet students where they're at, adapt to the virtual environment and things like that. But we are there like the whole way, right? We help people fill out their forms. We're always there for people to stop in at the Center for Civic Engagement with their questions. And I usually, as Kaylee was saying, most of our work is centered around New York because we are a state school and because most students are registering in New York or registering here on campus. But of course, we encourage students with questions who are out of state to come to us and speak to us as well.
And Kaylee, this, for folks wondering, you're not telling, and same for Shelli, you're not telling anyone who to vote for. It's simply to be engaged.
Yeah, and even I would even so much to say is we're not even necessarily telling people to vote. I mean, that's still your choice. And but we do want people to have all of the tools that if they decide to vote, like Shelli's saying, like it's easy and it's simple. Or if you're worried, if the only reason you're not voting is because you're worried you'll do it wrong, like I've set up Zoom calls with people one-on-one, and we just went through the form together. And I tell that to all the teams that I've talked to. So it's just like having to be civically engaged and educated enough to know how to do it, so then you can go educate yourself further on who to vote for if you even want to vote in the first place. So we're just trying to like break down some of those barriers that some students might be hitting.
Yeah, and I just want to jump off what Kaylee is saying. It's this peer-to-peer work I find is really important. Like Kaylee was saying, people text her and call her. I frequently just get friends texting me like, where do I get a stamp? Like, how do I fill out my ballot and things like that? And I feel like when students know that they can just reach out to a friend, it's kind of easier and more accessible for them. So, and I feel like our outreach has been more successful because we are engaged students, engaging other students who then engage other students, which is really effective.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's so funny every time because like you've said, I've never voted before. So like I would have never pictured myself as being the person that someone comes to ask about how to register and to vote. So it's just funny how it's all played out because now I know so much about voting. Like those facts that I know are so random and so fun, but it has been really interesting. Like personal growth for me and just like educating myself through educating others has been really unique process in my mind.
And Shelli, I think there's that relatability is key because it's almost like it's no different than if a student asks you for help, on a math question, or if you were tutoring, it's like, hey, can you just help me get there? There's a relatability. There's less pressure. It's a mutual respect. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and it's really awesome when I'm just like tabling on the spine when we were in person. Hopefully we will go back soon. But students just stop by the table. I find that students want to be engaged and they want to ask their questions, but they may be a little unsure of themselves, and just approaching them or just being there as another student has been really effective.
And Kaylee, athletics, no practices on election day, so that will be a day that's cleared for them.
Yeah. Well, before the NCAA jumped on it, our athletic director, Pat Elliott, had already said that for all athletics at Binghamton University, it's going to be an off day. And then the NCAA stepped in and said they're going to make it an off day. So that's really cool. And like we mentioned before, with the event center going to be a polling place, we're actually one of the first schools in the country to have like our event center used as a polling site. So that's like a really fun insider quick fact. And so we're definitely really excited about that. And just being able, having the student athletes to be able to like go have the day and to go and participate in the elections if they want. I would say that's another thing that comes a lot when you're asking about frequent questions is a lot of students don't realize that your polling place is based on where you live. So like a lot of the student athletes, they had heard that the event center was going to be used as a polling place. So they were like, oh, well, I can just go vote in person at the event center. But that's actually not true. The event center polling site is only going to be used for on-campus students. And so then that was another thing our committee was doing was we would look up based on where our student athletes were living off campus and telling them where a poll site was. So that was another common thing that we had to look into.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that is that we encourage students to make a plan to vote, whether they're voting absentee by mail or they're voting on election day, finding out where their polling place is and when they're going to go to that polling place and making sure they have the time to do that on election day. And something new that we've seen that has just been implemented in New York in the past year is early voting, which is really convenient for us students who don't have the day off. We may still have classes. We still have classes on election day. So I tell students if they're going to be busy on election day, Tuesdays, they just have class all day, they can vote early and vote like early voting starts October 24th and goes all the way through November 1st. And we have 4 different locations in Broome County. So if students are registered here in Broome County, they can go to any of those 4 locations, one of which is the public library downtown and one is the Oakdale Mall. Those 2 tend to be the most convenient for students. So if students want to do that, I highly recommend looking into that because it's a great option and it's really easy and really convenient.
Yeah, I was going to ask if, for those are 2 prominent locations. So folks have probably been to them sometime if they're living off campus during their college career. But nonetheless, yes, make a transportation plan and think ahead. To both of you, Kaylee, we can start with you. What are the final, I guess, couple of weeks leading up to Election Day going to look like in terms of your outreach?
I think our group, we've went through, so me and my committee, we've talked to every single team within athletics. We've held a meeting with them about registration and the different dates. And I think we're talking about maybe doing different outreach about like different candidates or different information about policies that may be up for election or stuff like that. But really our committee wants to expand, like once the election's over, we don't want to stop. Like we just want to keep conversations going in athletics about like these different things that are circling our lives right now, like circling our world. So I think that's something that our committee is going to have to look into in the future because our work doesn't just stop like with education and these little lessons. It's definitely a first step, but we definitely want to push forward.
And Shelli, also, how does the pandemic, if in any way, affect sort of the message and how you're communicating with students?
Yeah, so we've kind of transitioned a lot to virtual outreach as we did a lot of voter presentations. We're all completely over Zoom and transitioning to that as well. But now the voter registration deadline has passed, so we are really focusing on voter education. I've partnered with some student organizations and have done some education events on how to find out what's on your ballot, doing research about candidates, and all of those resources are on our website. But right now we're helping those students who are stopping into the office and helping them fill out their absentee ballots and getting those into the mail as soon as they can, because we are encouraging students to just the second they get their absentee ballot to mail them in as soon as they can. So we are just trying to help students vote over the next few weeks and give them the tools in order to do that so that they feel prepared and comfortable to vote on election day.
Well, terrific words and an important message from both of you. Shelli Cohen, Kaylee Wasco, thanks so much for the time and keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.